and welcome to another episode of the Lounge Podcast, episode 18. We today got we got ShounenLester, Kite, and Hex. Hex has made it today. Say hi, everyone.
Yes.
Hi.
Greetings. Yo.
Awesome. So today we have the main topic. We've got two topics today, but today, the main one we're going to focus on is magic systems, hard and soft magic systems, and I guess how to work a story. Just I guess work out how to work the stories. It's since it was your topic, Hex. Do you want to do an introduction to it, or should I? I don't mind. I could probably.
I mean, I could talk about it. Yeah, it wasn't. It wasn't. Like it was more like just an idea, and I thought about it because it's always popped up whenever I'm looking for like tips regarding how to do story writing and how to do power systems. And it's always like, do you use hard magic, soft magic? Do you use hard sci-fi, soft sci-fi, or which one is better? Why is it good? To be simply put, I guess to explain what these hard and soft systems are. Usually hard systems, they often mean that the system is very detailed, explained. It has a foundational rule set and an explanation for how everything works. That's usually what the hard system are. And the soft system are much more vague, left open to imagination often, and is more mysterious, more like just in the dark. Like it still has logic, but it's just not something that is it can be reasoned in normal.
It's kind of more left to wonder. That's kind of how I've understood it overall.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Alright, cool.
Yep.
So like I said, like hard and soft magic systems, like it's like kind of different flavors of how you express your magic in a story. Like there's, like I said, like the extreme side of it, the hard side is more grounded, you almost could say scientific, has rules you can follow, repeatable, like you can get repeatable results by figuring out like the right sequence or whatnot. Whereas soft is more, it's more just, I guess, mystical, left to interpretation. It's more, I guess, it's there more for wonder. Overall, when you speak about it generally. And I guess your question was more about like which one's best, when to best use it. So is that kind of like the question around it?
My general opinion. Sorry.
Oh, sure, no, go on.
Discussing it in general. Why is it good and stuff, and what are some good tips?
I generally think there's not a right or wrong answer of whether soft or hard magic is better or not. It just depends on, is it the system that's right for you? So I'll use me for I'll sort of go what I do. Essentially, I would describe mine as soft magic, and the main reason is simply because I lean more towards that. So I can have, but it doesn't mean it's without rules. So I've sort of established how my magic system roughly works, and then makes it, but just sort of leaves it so it can be as broad as possible. So I could just do, because I write a shonen action flick and a JRPG like Odyssey, I sort of opted for one that I can basically be as flexible as I can. So if I want to, I could just have crazy shit. And it will, and then just so it can make sense. So yeah, it just depends, really. And as I said, it's not like I think a soft magic system is best. I think it's best for me. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be best for everyone.
Yeah, and I think another thing probably good to mention in this regard, I see soft and hard magic systems. I think it more leans on a spectrum as well. Like it's not really like a switch on, switch off thing. I think first and foremost, it's your interpretation of what you want to do in your story, and if it works and you like it and you're able to write a competitive story in it, and it doesn't jar the reader out of it because with how you written it, then awesome. Do you. But when you get down to like, guess when someone's analyzing the story and trying to understand, like, okay, if they're studying it for like the ring case, and so it's saying, okay, what kind of magic system is this? When they look at it, it's probably be more judged on like a spectrum than like a switch. If that makes sense. So like, there's stories that fall almost like you could say fall arguably dead in the middle, and then there's stories that lean more to hard, and there's stories that lean more to soft. There was actually another. There's a video. I'll probably show it to you later because he showed it in a really interesting way. He had hard and soft, and he had like another graph he kind of put it on, but I can't remember it because I saw it so recently. But I'll do it later. But yeah, I'll say when it comes to magic systems, hard and soft, it's more on a spectrum. So no, like yeah, there are the extremes on either end, but I think a lot of the systems fall somewhere in that spectrum of the extremes. Yeah. Okay. I guess
your voice cut off a bit sometimes. Sorry.
Okay. Ooh, how much of that did you get?
I think majority of it though is fine.
Okay.
Yeah,
cool.
I heard you fine. Like, didn't notice any sort of major breakups.
Okay.
Okay, then it was just my side.
Okay. Cool. No worries. Yeah. I guess in terms of how I use it in my story, because I have a couple, like if a few magic systems, but the two main ones is like my knight system, like Pentagon knight system, and just like the dream world. And the knight system leans more hard, but even in that, right, it's more hard because it has elements, and the elements stuff you can do is kind of repeatable. But then from there, I can find like with the individual characters some fun ways they can express that power. And then when it comes to the dream world, that also has its rules on how it works, but overall, it's very more on the mystical. Like it's very mysterious because how it works. Because obviously, because like it's a dream world. Almost you can almost in that world, it's almost like depending on who you are, you can almost like create stuff, like as you kind of doing in a dream. So in that regard, I have a system that and that dream world does kind of blend into the real world in some aspects as well. So in my story, I have a system that leans more soft magic system from the dream world, and then a more harder magic system with the night system. So again, yeah, like Lester said, it depends on your story and it depends like what you're going for, but it also means you don't have to just have one. You can, if you depending on how you write your story, what you go for, you can have both, and it can work.
So I kind of want to throw my hat in real quick just to kind of give a suggestion as far as hard or soft is concerned. So the thing is, we were talking about this a little bit before we started. It was just the subject of science and magic as far as how closely related they are. In a nutshell, basically, when we talk about science, we're talking about like theories that can be explained on on either a metaphysical level or a scientific level via the scientific method. However, I raise a question of even if we could understand something on that level and it still comes across as somewhat mystic, almost dare I say something that kind of goes outside the realm of predictable reality, can we still consider that science, or do we start to fall into the mysticism side of things? Because as far as mysticism is concerned, we tend to use that as a shorthand, as something that can't necessarily be explained by science. But I would argue that the moment something becomes explainable, then it can fall into the realm of science. So I feel like hard and soft magic can fall into these categories. Hard falls into the scientific side of things of how we can understand it via theories and repeated actions, and soft falls into the realm of we have a vague idea of how this works in concept, but we might not necessarily know all of the building blocks. So in this sense, that's not to say that with soft magic you are free to completely contradict and break your own semblance of rules, because at that point you have something that doesn't really make a lot of sense. But if you want to play around with the idea of the fact that even the characters are still trying to come to the terms with how we understand, how they understand, and how we understand, it can add to a degree of, dare I say, that same mysticism that I was just getting to, because there is a bit of a debate within some writing spheres of, you don't have to explain your magic to a science, because at that point things may get bogged down. But at the same time, I feel what makes science and magic an interesting conversation to have is that even though we do have grounded terms for everything in real life for the most part, science is always developing and it's ever evolving and developing every single day. Not everything is set in stone. Like, we want to go back and talk about Pluto for a minute. We all thought that was a planet, and well, it turns out it's a dwarf planet. It's not an official planet. So these things are always developing. So even within hard magic systems, I feel as though there should still be some leeway for understanding and figuring out, or at least just adapting to some degree of change. That's not to say again that I favor one or the other. I just feel like if we kind of try to ground them as far as, do we have a hard understanding of something, kind of like theories and predictable models, or do we have like a soft or a vague understanding? I feel like if you want to veer towards more freedom, if anything, a soft system can still have more than enough complex building blocks in there for you to form some semblance of reality. But if you still want to give your reader this sense of, this world is still developing and it's still changing, and what I think is consistent now can end up changing in the future, at that point you've already set the seeds for that, and you might just get your reader more invested if that's the kind of dynamic that you're going for.
Actually, now you bring up a really, really good point. Actually, when you mention it like that, it does like make me, because like even in my story, like the power system they have, even the one they have, the night system, is not fully understood or fleshed out, and what they understood and what's been fleshed out is just stuff they've learned from their forefathers, and it's become like a point to a habit. But then okay, so it's not too much spoiler, but like there's another world that, there's another world with other sets of humans that have developed using the same element powers, but they use it totally differently because they grew up using it differently, and they have memories of using it from even further back than we do. And then even like amongst one of the groups, they kind of use, like I call them like, you can almost like they're like the wizards of the world, but I kind of like, I see them more as like they're able to use the power, but more use it like almost in a program level, like they're able to use it in a more like to a point where it seems like magic to even the people who use the power themselves. So sometimes they get labeled wizards or witches as an insult because of it. So yeah, like the thing of hard and soft magic system being determined or changed, differing by perspective, is actually a really good point. Actually, that was a really solid point.
Yeah, because it's a lot more fascinating than people realize. Because, like, I do advocate that people have a good notion of what makes their world work and what makes certain phenomenon work the way they do. Because you want to make sure that your reader can understand what's happening to a point, of course. But the thing is, there should always be that level of dynamic change every now and again. That's not to say I want you to pull stuff out of your ass or anything. No, it's more like you need to leave things open just enough for things to change. If you want to add that extra layer of, holy smoke, seriously? Because like, how enthralling does a plot twist get for you when you realize your character saw things one way, but then all of a sudden you were kind of thinking to yourself like, no, hold on, maybe it works this way. How shocked are you when it turns out that the characters were wrong and you had it right the whole time? They were so grounded by the rules of their hard system that when they see the reality right in front of them that you ended up predicting, isn't that not very satisfying in your case, especially when it works within the world's writing? Like, the characters couldn't see it coming because this is the world that they've lived in. This is all they know. But you're coming from an outside perspective where your own perceptions are still informing how you're viewing the story. And when you figured it out before the characters did, and they have to contend with that, it puts you and the characters on the same page. That chasm of separation between what the characters knew versus what you were already perceiving in your own head, they start to converge.
Yeah, and that's a really good way to put it as well, because it's like it turns the magic system into its own kind of mystery, and then it gets the person to start thinking about how to use the power or what power they would have, and that's really good point.
That's the best word to use for it. It's a mystery. This stuff should be mysterious. Like, a hard and soft magic system doesn't completely constitute the removal of a complete mystery. You can still have both of them at the same time. So what I feel is going to be the best thing that you can do for yourself at the end of the day is to allow that mystery to develop in real time alongside within your thoughts and within your writing. Of course, it's inevitable that we're going to have to bring him up because we're kind of skirting around his name at this point, I'm sure. We're going to have to bring up Mr. Sanderson at some point.
Yes, I literally thinking I was literally about to bring him up. Yeah, you're going. Yeah, go. Sorry.
We have to. He's this is kind of his thing. This is his bread and butter.
Literally, yeah.
Wait, but who could you bring me up to speed with Mr. Sanderson?
Oh, okay. So Brandon Sanderson, he is a fantasy author. He's like one of, you could say modern times he's probably one of the greatest fantasy authors out there. I love his work personally as well. He's written a lot of books. And a lot of them
some of them, like, he sort of like jumps genres as well. My first book I read was Starlight, and that's like sci-fi. And then, which is like completely different to his other one, which is like the ones like the only one I've sort of read. I need to read is Mistborn.
Oh, he's the one who did the Wheel of Time.
Yeah, he finished the last three. He did the last 3 books he did last 3 books of Wheel of Time, and then he has his own series, the Mistborn, the Way of Kings. That is so he's really good. But yeah, one thing he's really, 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 really good at doing is making this really, really deep magic system. He definitely is more hard in his magic system. But I was about to bring up Sanderson myself, because I was about to say, even in his hard magic systems, he leaves enough for you to still wonder about and still wonder what you would have and what could happen, and even figure stuff out before the characters do. I've gone through so many moments where they're figuring stuff out. I'm like, why if they do this and this and this, and they do something like that. I'm like, oh, cool, that really does work. So, you're right. Like, even in he definitely his magic system do lean more to like being scientific. Like, actually, because he has so many different books, you'll find some of them lean more one way or another. His Elemency one is, I could say, is probably the most hardest magic system one, and then his like what was the power in Way of Kings? Surge binding and that stuff. I think it's it leans more I think more to the middle but it leans more to leans more soft compared to Elemency. And I think he has a magic system in Skyward as well. Don't remember the details of it, but yeah, like he's just really good at I don't remember
the names.
Yeah,
I'd say that one's a bit like where I am. It's a bit more soft because it's sort of more as a mystery, especially with like the Delvers.
It's definitely a lot more mysterious. It's definitely even more so than Way of Kings in some graphs. At least with the prominent system he has in there. And it's funny because it's a sci-fi overall, because it's devolved in spaceships.
So if I remember correctly, it's the voice of the sort of sounds of the stars.
Yeah, stars did play a part in it. Yeah, there you're right. Yeah,
and that was ability that Spencer had.
Yeah, did he even have a name for it? Because I'm thinking like it was something so rare that I'm not sure they had it. They probably did.
I dropped out of the second book because I didn't really gel with that book. They did the first, but yeah, they did. They actually didn't name it. Like
because I think from on there it was like.
If they did, I've forgotten that.
Yeah, I forget me.
Yeah, that.
Forgive me if I'm wrong, because from what I remember is the system in there is so new, or it's so the people you're following are so unaware of it that they probably didn't have a name for it. But I could be wrong. It has been a while, and I've not read them like more than once. But Brandon Sanderson. This is kind of like his thing. You can actually go through a couple of his books. You'll find so many different like the hard and soft magic system where it is on the spectrum.
And he also, well, I haven't like finished like Mistborn. I'd say like how he explains the sort of the metal magic. It does like it's not in a way that is like so like just relies on info dumps. It's sort of done gradually. So particularly you get
right.
I've literally forgotten every single character. It's been so long.
Yeah, you're basically kind of building a foundation of how you understand it. Like everything that you're learning about the system is very much in the moment. So that you have like a gradual idea of how it all works rather than trying to get it all in at once. And ideally, I think that's the best way for you to explain anything within your work. Like sometimes an info dump might be necessary, but if you can handle your magic in a gradual means, kind of like, oh, you're going to school one day and you're learning this part of the theory, and then the next day you learn the other part of it. You're doing that on a chapter by chapter basis, and it's the best way for you to really comprehend how all of this works. Because I guarantee you, if you hit someone with it all at once, they're only going to remember a Cliff Notes version of it. Whereas if you introduce it gradually, all those Cliff Note pieces, they're all going to come together at the end of it.
Yeah, I've seen in times when like if you just try to like dump it in like as I said, like I pretty much like I struggle to read books, but I did like do like manga binge a while, including some new series. Two like mangas in particular where I feel like it made the mistake of just going into so much exposition of how like the mechanisms of how the magic system works is one is like Seven Samurai by Kishimoto, which I think really got too lost in how like the samurai works, and the other is like one that's a bit less like I think it's a manga that got cancelled a few after just a few chapters, which was Red Riding Hood with
right. I think I know that one.
Which,
the one with with
like the werewolves and stuff, which I think wasn't like it's not bad, but the problem is it really went way too hard in sort of explaining how like particularly like weaknesses to the werewolves, how their weapons counter it. So if that makes sense. So it's definitely like I'd say definitely like either if you're doing like hard or soft, you still need to find some way to sort of like one thing you need to avoid is just dumping everything in a very continuous manner, because you will sort of lose people. Like even I'll say like one of the few examples I can give, but Harry Potter, like the whole purpose of it is you learn how to use magic, and that book never really goes into how the intricacies of how magic works. So I definitely would describe it more as like soft magic. I don't care about all the other Okay, I have not seen Fantastic Beasts, and you know my opinion on the Cursed Child.
Yeah.
I'm strictly talking about the original books. And I think like that's a really good example of how to make it engaging, because it's soft, it's easy enough to understand, and it's vague enough that you could just have like some like really mystical shit going on all around you, and you don't need intricate. Like the ceiling in the Great Hall at Hogwarts, it changes sort of the patterns of like it shows like either the thunderstorm or the sun or starry night sky. It's cool. Do we need to go into the intricate details of how it works? No, because it could be boring. It's better to say, "Ooh, magic."
I know. It's interesting to say that because kind of mixing into like your perspective of what is hard and what's hard and soft can be also a matter of perspective. But also, like in the real world, we don't know how we know things work, but we don't know how everything works, anyways. So I think maybe sometimes maybe some people have this urge, they feel like they need to explain everything because it's in their thing, it's a concept, they've got to explain it. But like, well, do you know how every intricate thing works in your world? No, not really. So maybe because of that, you shouldn't have to worry about it too much.
Got a really stupid quote from Arnold Rimmer that might be relevant to that. I made love to a woman in her apartment. That's important. How did you get there? Bike or by bus? Not important.
Yeah, that's a good quote. Yeah. But yeah, that's really interesting. Okay.
No.
Oh,
Or sorry, no. Because you all were talking, so I felt like I'm gonna let you guys talk about this. I don't know. It's almost like honestly, everything has already been said that I kind of wanted to say, or like you guys have kind of talked about.
Yeah.
What I would have also said the same thing. It's more of it's not just. I mean. Also, I guess we were talking a lot about magic, but I don't know. There could be other types of hard and soft systems too. Mainly, I guess, sci-fi in that sense. But
like hard and soft sci-fi.
Yeah.
I think like if I don't know, it's similar cases where like I know like hard sci-fi is like very much explaining like there's gonna be what's the word? Basically, it would be like explaining how the internal combustion engine works.
Yep.
Well, so keeping things as grounded as possible, and then soft is again. I really hate to bring this up, but Marvel is actually a really good. The like MCU is sort of a good example of
soft system.
Spectacular.
I just invented time travel. How? Don't worry about it. We invented time travel. That's it. Moving on.
Yeah, we don't understand how that works.
It's just like you can't have like things like really sophisticated with like either like a hard or a soft system. I think like again like it's pretty much as I always say, it's not the system itself, it's how it's used or like how it's deployed. That you can have like I think you can have like soft systems that just sort of either like ends up not being as engaging or just feels like a bit too random. And I've read like when I was like on Wattpad, I read a lot of books that and like just barely explained how it didn't like really give like enough context as to how it works to sort of because I think ultimately at the end of the day it's about suspending your disbelief. You need at least something to go on to sort of ground that sense of disbelief. Yeah. If you sort of don't establish that, then I think if everything just feels like just a bit random and a bit just happening for the sake of happening. I think like a lot of like modern animes with like RPG systems, I feel really do fall into this, and a particular reason why I don't like them, because it just never explains why are we in a like a medieval fantasy world and but the character's seeing like some sort of heads-up display. At least explain how roughly how that.
Because video games, guys, would it be cool if you could play a video game in real life, guys? Guys, no, I'm joking. Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's basically that.
I mean, a bit silly, but yeah. Well, yeah, obviously, go on.
I mean, I do have a take on that. There is a way that you can justify it, and this kind of goes back to what happens when you meld genres together. Because, like, if you really wanted to, you can have a fantasy world of sci-fi elements, and pulling up like a heads-up display can work in a practical sense. So like if you're doing that to like look through inventory or information that you have, then yeah, you could probably justify it that way if you're kind of trying to blend the genres together. But it is a little bit odd maybe where you see like a literal RPG stat window. But trust me, there is a way that you can get it to work. You can definitely get this concept to work in the sense that it just depends on what's showing it. Because if you pull up like a magic scroll and all that information shows up on like a let's say on a visual level, right? You can visualize what's on the scroll based on this little spell you're using. That can actually work. The problem, of course, is just the fact that it just turns out to like stats, numbers, and all that, and it's just like I can see why a lot of people don't like it. I'm not much better. I don't really have a lot of patience for a lot of stories that do actually do that kind of thing. But then again, we talked about that before, and isekai is just isekai is isekai. It just comes with the territory at this point.
Yeah. I would say that like I think when it comes to with the stat thing, because it kind of leads into the hard and soft magic system, because I think that's where it kind of bled into this a bit, is when it comes to like hard and soft magic system, it's kind of a matter of trust, because you're saying there'll be some stuff that happens like, oh, that's a bit random, but why is it there? So okay, it's
why is it there, right?
Yeah, so you gotta give the readers a reason why, and it doesn't have to be explained, but there's got to be a purpose to it. Like
something to
yeah,
sort of keep it grounded enough.
Yeah, because it's like I mentioned before. You are the man behind the curtain, and you have to make sure that everything that's happening on screen or what is on the page makes sense for the reader. You need to make sure that they're understanding this. The problem is if you break immersion so hard, they're going to be able to see you behind the curtain.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure that you got to make sure that contract never gets broken.
Yeah.
Because if it does, it is next to impossible to build up that trust again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because they trusted you. They're giving you a suspension of disbelief for you to immerse them in the story.
Yeah,
so
they
give everything a purpose.
Yeah,
sorry.
Like Star Wars, Rise of Skywalker, I think, is the perfect example of how wrong it can go.
Right, because
like literally when I put like this might be a bit of a rant from me, but literally the first 10 minutes I was watching that movie, I said, "Oh my god, that is so stupid! Why is there an armada just coming out of the ice?" And trust me, that is not the only stupid thing that
I've not watched it, but I keep hearing the line. Yeah, I keep hearing the line of so apparently Palpatine's back. It's like, yeah, really? Okay, you have to say that?
Yes,
cool.
and
you see, I love that scene because it is just like it's supposed to be so dramatic, but I was literally just
you can tell even the actors are having a hard time wrapping their heads around the utter nonsense of this happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because like my problem with that movie specifically is that things just happen. It makes no attempts to sort of the ground or explain. And I think I've even said like, I know it's Star Wars, but there's at least you need to, and it's like fantasy, and it's like sci-fi fantasy. It needs to be at least some sort of logic. So like even like with the Force, I at least know the intricacies enough to know how it works. This film clearly did not know anything about how it works. It just did like some of the most random things ever, like healing, and then just the force lightning enough to basically knock everything out of the sky, and then whatever the hell the final death of Palpatine was, because I have no idea what happened.
The problem with that whole affair is you could actively see the person behind the curtain trying to do what they could to keep people invested, and it just
comes off.
Yeah, they never built that goodwill with the audience in the first place, and just to kind of make sure that this doesn't become like a Star Wars bashing subject, even though I would have no trouble whining about the sequel trilogy. I mean, still. what
honestly.
I do want to mention is that goodwill between us and the idea of Palpatine coming back was not established at all in any conceivable capacity. Now, they did sort of blow their load early when it came to Snoke, but the thing about that is they could have taken it in any other direction they wanted. The problem is that they chose a direction that they felt as though would likely get more people invested, or they were just trying to um, scrub off the problems of The Last Jedi, when what should have been done was that we committed to what we had started out with. Sure, people may not have liked that movie. I understand why. But the thing is, Ryan Johnson had set up a path for us to follow. And whether or not we liked it, the path was there and it should have been committed to.
Yep.
Now, whether or not this would have made The Last Jedi better in hindsight, I don't know. I don't live in that world. What the world that I do live in, however, does demand that there is a degree of committing to the choices that you make. And that is not what happened with The Rise of Skywalker.
At the very least, I would have respected the attempt for them to continue, because I remember after. Okay, yeah, probably. I don't want to get too much bash about the thing, but I remember watching the second movie and thinking, I'm just gonna hold my opinion off until the third movie comes out, because this is okay. It's unexpected, but it can work out something really interesting. You know, we do have original trilogy. It doesn't need to go the same way as that. I respect the attempt. Let's see where it goes. And then when I heard they doubled him back, I'm like, oh well, I'm not even gonna watch it. That gives no point. Yeah. So actually, there's one thing just because I was saying before. It was kind of related to hard and soft magic systems with the menu screens. I think like with regards to like the trust of the reader. I think I've seen the menu screens on isekais done well, but it's when it's actually it feels like it's part of the world and not just. The guy has a menu screen because there's a game and they have a menu screen but I've seen ones where it's actually part of the world, like other characters know about it, normal people know about it, and it actually affects the plot and how people interact with each other. I think that's one general way I've seen it done well. So I've definitely seen it done well, but yeah, when I talk about it, like half the time it's just like it just feels like it's there just for the main character to have a menu to look at their stuff, and it doesn't feel like it affects anyone else. Sometimes there's a secrecy of I'm different from everyone else.
Just a question.
But yeah.
Go ahead.
Can I ask actually? Have any of you read Solo Leveling?
Yeah.
Not yet, but it's
I read all of it.
the thing that always gets recommended to me.
I definitely should pick.
Definitely do.
I really liked it.
I don't know how the. Yeah.
Good.
I really like it too. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know how the anime will handle it. So if the anime ever is very mediocre or bad, better to just read it before.
Yeah, it is A1 Pictures.
It's A1 Pictures as well.
It is A1 Pictures. Yeah. They seem to specialize in milquetoast Kirito kind of characters, and they might just like. Don't get me wrong. The beginning of Solo Leveling character, it works, but he becomes like Giga Chad by later down the line.
He becomes a Chad. Yeah.
He becomes a Chad. Like it's just him leveling up. So I will see. I'll definitely watch it. Yeah, definitely. Solo Leveling's really good example. Of it,
No. But yeah, because I mentioned that because it kind of the whole menu screen and stuff is like very prominent in Solo Leveling. But I also feel like it was kind of, at least later on, somewhat given an explanation, sort of. I guess, or like a reasoning. I don't know.
Even at the beginning, like the kind of the whole point of what he got and how it was done, I think it was fine. Like the story's not the most complicated thing in the world, but everything I didn't feel like it was like I didn't see the public. I didn't see like the creator behind the strings with that. It just worked really well. Then later on, it got more incorporated into the world anyway. So yeah, that's just a good example of it being done. But yeah, but I think the rules I brought up because like it's not too different from like the hard and soft magic system thing where it's just like you can have something, but is there a point to like what's the point of it? You can have something soft magic, but it's like if there's no purpose to it or it doesn't feel like it fits into the world, then it's just gonna bother the readers. So yeah, I think.
and it will break immersion. Like just to I'm probably gonna get hit with a read another book please thing, but I'd like to preface that I still have not read the Harry Potter books yet, but a very common thing, right, as far as people's complaints go with Harry Potter, it's always the time turners. Like, if you ever want to tilt a Harry Potter fan, I've come to terms with the fact that just bring up the time turners and see what happens. Because 9 times out of 10, that is the one thing that everyone goes to. It's like, after we figured out how powerful they were within the events of the Prisoner of Azkaban, we always return to the same question. Okay, then why aren't people using more of these, and how exactly is a timeline able to stay in order if they were so easily available? Well,
Yeah.
J.K. Rowling already came up with a solution. Screw the time turners, destroy them. Who needs them?
Yeah.
I just
think in-
find it funny.
But if I remember correctly, in the book, Hermione did explain the dangers of using a time turner. But I'll be honest, I forgot most of it. But there was like an attempt to say why more people wouldn't use it, and the dangers of it, and how McGonagall had to jump through a lot of hoops just to get her one. And if I remember correctly, that one specifically is very limited in its power because it can only turn back a day. It's a day, but sort of, if I recall correctly, it's not just the day, but you're still within that they're physically there.
Yeah, I think what I remember the events.
Yeah.
The events that already happened will not be changed or something like that. Like, or at least you couldn't interact with your
So
past
like
self.
what happens
So,
does happen. So that's how Hermione was able to, because in Prisoner of Azkaban, she basically signed up to literally every class under the sun, which it actually goes in the book. It's better explained of just how it sort of really physically takes a toll on her. But sort of in order to go to all her classes, she basically was given the time turner. But essentially, she's been to every single class in a day. She was literally present in about 2 different classes that happened simultaneously. If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we all probably watched or read the books, so.
Yeah. And she ended up at the end of the book. She ended up one was divination that she in the book was a bit more dramatic. That she basically just shouted at Cheryl and stormed out of the room. But then, like at the end of the book, saying, and I've dropped. I think she's dropped like ancient runes. Just so to balance herself because of the taught text. But yeah, what like the time turner of this essentially was used as it was like she explained like the reason why it can't be used, and that's like the main plot of the Cursed Child. I do have it's something I do have.
I think they broke it. That's when they super broke it
issues with as well.
Yeah, because apparently they turned back a couple of years, which is. I don't know.
Yeah, and also like I think I remember in the 5th book they were all in the fight in the Ministry of Magic. The thing that actually produced the sound was broken when a Death Eater was I think hit with a stun spell and was forced into it, and it got affected by that sound and literally just de-aged him to the point where he. I think either was turned into like a fetus or just conked out of existence. Just like one part of like his head literally turned into that of a fetus. Yeah, whatever it was really weird.
But yeah.
Sounds weird.
That was like specifically the book. It doesn't show that in the movie.
Yeah. Okay. I guess with this subject, is anyone got any closing thoughts, or should we just move on to the next one?
I think we can move on to the next, but the question is, well, I mean, I don't know. I feel like we often talk about our stories, right? Or I guess so.
I don't know. If I do, I don't feel like I ever explain it well enough. But I do have another topic here about power scaling. We can go to.
Okay, well, I mean, that's something we could do.
Yeah.
I have a topic of I mean, I don't know if this is world building, but I think like it's fun to maybe discuss settings, ideas for settings, or just like feedback to each other and stuff. But I think we can
okay.
maybe even save it for after the podcast as well. Basically, I had a setting in mind, and I would love to talk about it, but I would understand if like it's just me and stuff that we could do power scaling because that's more general and everyone can input something.
Honestly, I literally don't mind. I do have power scaling here ready. If you guys are down to just to talk about setting, I'm down to do that. I can like leave it aside for later, and we can just see how it goes.
I don't mind.
Don't mind, yeah. All right. So settings, yeah. Alright, cool. Yeah, no worries. Alright. Do you wanna start us off then, Hex?
Right. So I mean, I'm not gonna lie. This was like okay. This was a long time ago. First question is, when did Black Desert like come out? The game.
I've heard of
I think it came out in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay.
There. I heard
2018.
that.
Okay, well, I guess maybe that's fair. 2018 sounds about right. Okay, well, my setting idea, this was back in 2018, and the idea came up because of literally a name of a game. Like I'm just like, what was it? The name was, the game's name is like Black Desert, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden, I'm just like, oh, okay, cool game and stuff. But then I'm just thinking about the name, and I'm like, what if there was a desert that's actually like full on black, like, and then that got me thinking even more, like, oh, like a desert that is covered in like black sand and stuff. And then that actually got me to like spin. And this is probably gonna be a setting in my story because I've thought about it for such a long time now. But I thought about like this sort of setting. Like imagine a desert full of sand, but it's like full on coated in black.
Yeah, fully black,
right.
Yeah.
And the thing is that no one sets foot on this desert during the day at all because it's basically it's black, but it's actually it's absorbed so much heat from the sun that it actually is scorching red. So it's basically, if you step foot in it, it's like burning. It's like you're gonna be burnt alive. You're gonna be burnt alive. And no one basically steps foot outside of this desert. But during the nighttime, the thing is that this desert, the sand is not normal sand. It's like coated in some sort of weird chemicals and stuff. To the point where like it absorbs heat from the sun, or like it absorbs the light, and then at night it basically glows in blue. So it's like imagine a desert in the night that's like glowing in a blue kind of glowing, I don't know, sand and stuff. Yeah, it's in a blue hue. And then everyone, like there's an entire civilization that basically operates in the night. Simply put, like they sleep during the day and then they operate at night. And it's a full-on like city that is like coated in blue, like, or in a blue hue with like sand all around them and stuff. I don't know. That's like the setting idea that I had. But
that is actually really intriguing idea. I can't lie. Like the moment you mentioned Black Desert, my mind was already thinking, okay, well, how could it get black? I wonder if like either natural environments or maybe even a mix of like what kind of like Arrakis, where the environment got changed a lot because of what the people did there. Like maybe it was
exactly.
Maybe it was humans what they did there, and it caused the desert to go black or something, or because it's like on a planetary scale. Yeah, there's so much ways it can bend that. And then when you said like the people who lived there, it's like how would they live there, and how they survive? How did they keep away from the black desert when it's when it's black? I guess does a town have some sort of thing on the ground that keeps them there? Would they have like punishments to people who probably steal something and they throw them out in the desert, like when it's burning? You can you throw someone off a deck. Yeah. So some ways you can take it, and then I don't know, like when you say blue, it's kind of like, well, imagine if these people all they've seen is the sand, and the blue is kind of like the closest they have to like the sea or something. I don't know. So I don't know. There's some ways you can like
it's
really cool. Yeah.
I mean, I could. It doesn't have to be called the setting area or the location doesn't have to be called Black Desert. Honestly, it could be, like you said. I mean, I think it would be interesting if it was named as like an ocean, like that actually gave me a good idea. Like I don't know, calling it the Oasis, for example. I don't know,
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like that.
yeah. You can even do
Because
both
like,
because
but there's no water. It's yeah.
yeah, yeah. I was thinking you can do both because I'm thinking in my head. Usually, when you tell good way to kind of tell stories like these, and obviously it depends on how you go by it. Good way to tell stories like these is having an outsider come in. So then the outsider has their interpretations. Heck, maybe the outsiders they call it the Black Desert, but they call it the Oasis. You know what I mean? So you could there's some way you
Yeah.
can flip that. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
I don't know. I felt like talking about it, but honestly, I'm down to just talk about settings in general, like setting ideas that you guys had. That like I don't know,
I actually,
and the
because
inspirations
I
behind it. I
actually,
think it's very fun.
Mm-hmm.
because I actually got like think about two other projects I've sort of at least want to tackle when I've sort of decreased my workload. I think there's only one of them's more like developed, and specifically because I always wanted to do a steampunk style story because like you've seen like the like steampunk art and sort of the old sort of I'm gonna say like Victorian-ish style of clothing, and then just with like cogwork pipes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've sort of picked up a lot of ideas. Like one of like my one game like I really I'm gonna say light because I wouldn't say I love it is BioShock Infinite, and it sort of gave me the idea of a setting of cities that float in the sky. These sort of and sort of if you played BioShock Infinite, it is basically the city of Columbia is say America like most American Americana of like the 1902 I'd say like 1902 to like 1911. You sort of like the cobbled streets, that sort of like those like shops with like the sort of advertisements for like stuff like hats and even like shoe shiners, and then just sort of this society that's just among like other things just like sort of just floated up in the sky, and sort of thought like yeah like I would like to do something like that, and so I've got at least the name of it, which I've called like Spriggan Heart. Taking like other inspiration, one from I'm actually gonna say like Final Fantasy 12, in sort of regards to like the thematics, I think, or at least like how to begin with my characters, and then I'm actually gonna say like power like a Power Ranger-esque power, which is an idea I got from Ouroboros from Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is sort of the power of the mystical power that's literally conjoins two people, which in this case is the main party, into sort of this Ultraman entity, which is the only way they could battle the main antagonists, which are Mobius. And so yeah, I sort of ended up like mushing these ideas, and I've at least written the lore of it and like the ideas of it, and the names of the other floating cities. But yeah, it's definitely like example, like if you're like ever thinking of like a setting, I dare say like you can just my strategy is just take stuff I think is cool and then mush them together and see what it is. It's something I actually used to do as a child. Like some of my earliest works were me basically coming up with these weird fan fictions of basically things I like. So I think one I had was like Star Wars World in a game a game I like really loved called World in Conflict, which is a World War III strategy game. I think it was Massive that developed it. I don't think they exist anymore. And Ace Combat.
Yes.
So it's sort of
Oh yeah.
and Halo, and so it's sort of like this weird like mismatch. So that's sort of how literally all my projects have been planned. It's just me being inspired by various different mediums and then mushing them together to see if that makes something. It can be like chopped and changed, and new things get added. But yeah, that's like typically how I sort of operate in sort of like coming up with settings. Like it's like okay, what is cool? Like even like my latest series Code Scarlet, that was with Destiny. I think it was originally like Destiny and Star Wars sort of conjoined, and then it got like elements like Gundam. Because I started watching, because like it was over because I came up with the idea over lockdown, and it's there where it like really started to get into Mobile Suit Gundam and mecha in general, and then
Hey.
other inspirations like Neo Genesis and sort of also like even like the works of like HR Giga, the sort of sort of like
I've been
horrific
looking
like
at his work recently.
cosmic horrors that
Hmm.
sort of like look just look ghastly, otherworldly, and not confound to the logic of humans. And they just sort of like and then with like elements of like like the fantasy elements. So in this series, there's elves and dwarves and orcs. Because why not? And I've sort of like I think I've had like about 3 rewrites of it, but I've at least like got something concrete on how to tackle it, keeping with sort of like keeping like a mecha battle and like like taking like a lot of inspiration from like Gundam and specifically and like how to sort of handle like I think like the boots on the groundish, and I still want to have like gunfights and stuff. Then also like weaving in the sort of like techno horror, particularly in relations to I think my really powerful mechs, which I've called the Aegises, and what they actually are, and then the androids, which is like an inspiration I've taken from Metal Gear Rising, and then what I've called the Fiends, which are basically the Giga monsters that basically these things were made to fight against, and these are creatures that could basically like with like the more powerful ones, which are called the Gnosis, strong enough to literally wipe out an entire army on their own.
Yeah,
I know that does sound like I've been rambling for a few minutes, but yeah, like literally that came about of me just combining a lot,
just taking a lot of
things
inspiration from
to
different
see
places
and sort of like melding them together like bread. See
Yep.
like they'll fit together.
making that thick dough. Nah, yeah, that's honestly a really good way of going about it. I don't know. For me, I have some world inspiration. None of them stand out too much in my mind as like, oh yeah, this is really a thing. Maybe like except for like 2. So like in my world, there are demons in my world, and a lot of the demons long time ago were sword and swords. But then there are also demons that can possess cities, and there's been a lot of ghost cities after the world was almost destroyed, and they'll like end up possessing them. So kind of like in Modern Magica, where the witches can make labyrinths. So if you go,
I think I remember that.
yeah. So if you go into like people usually stay away from ghost cities, especially like really old ones, because if you go into them, it's very possible you're gonna fall into a labyrinth of demons made who's kind of taken that city for themselves. So I think so in general, there's just like it's usually best just to avoid it because it's like it'll be like most like infested with demons and you'll probably just get lost and killed in some next dimension. There is on that side there is this one demon who's Lilith, who's meant to be like you could say the demon queen, but no one knows about her because although she lived on the human side of she lives on the human side of the world and it's possessed the city. No one knows about her because of like the demons she has around her, and also I think like the really strong demons, the really strong ones, can actually move the whole city to other places. So I guess like some world building that's interesting. So there's that, and I think the reason why no one really knows of her is because like no one knows of her. She's been controlled and it's kind of a spoilerish, but like she's been controlling a lot of what the powerful nations in the background, and a lot of quite a few of their decisions for ages. Because have you guys watched Doctor Who?
It's been years.
Yeah,
so
it's been a minute for me as well.
I stopped after David Tennant, so.
Oh yeah. So
Kind
I
of.
think was
Right.
this,
Yeah.
I think this was in David. No, this was Matt Smith. So there was this alien called the Silence. And what they were is like they look like Slender Man. I'm almost 90% sure they saw Slender Man. For we're just gonna kind of add them in here, but they did. It was really cool. So the Silence, what they're these aliens that have lived amongst us all this time. But and they live amongst us, they could be anywhere. They could be in our rooms and everything. But the thing is, whenever we look at them, we'll notice them. But when we look away, we forget they ever existed. It's like to look away from them erases your memory of them. So because of that, they're in high places, calling shots, making people do things. But they don't remember because, again, the moment you look away from them, you forget that you ever saw them. But you have lingering memories of what they told you, what they said, or what they told you to do. They kind of stick around, but you just don't know what or who did it. Your predicate comes from yourself. So I saw that and I thought, okay, well, I'm gonna have demons like that in my story. I changed some stuff to make it a bit more ridiculous in some ways. Like they can, when you see them, you remember them, but when you look away, you forget them. Even if you even sense them, you can sense them, but in the moment you're away from their presence, you'll forget them as well. So it can mess around your memories. And she's with these demons and herself, she's able to keep herself away from, like, no one knows of her existence because of this. And there's this part where the main characters run into her, and they only survive because they you could say kind of made an offer, but in a way it looked like it was in their favor. But after that, they don't remember what happened, but they feel crappy, and you could say it leads to some really crazy stuff later. So I think that's, like, in terms of world, like a setting, I think that was quite interesting. And also I think so there's two worlds. There's the world that we live in, that we've lived in for long as we can remember. Then there was a world that we've lived in before we came to this world, but we don't remember it. And what's happened is that world, after we kind of gained the powers we have now and start to find, like, the demon swords that can open, like, different dimensions, we kind of ran into our forefathers, you could say, because there was a group of people. There was a group of people who stayed on that side of the world, and that world it's a totally different, like, it's like a totally different world. I call it Titan's Creek, and on that world, I think I took heavy inspiration of what the Dark Continent would have been like in Hunter x Hunter, because, you know, that took a whole ass hiatus and I was interested in it, and I think so. The world itself's kind of insane in terms of, like, what goes on there. Because it's been a while since I've actually had to write that far ahead in the story. I imagine some things will change, but I definitely know that when I'm writing that part of the world, it's definitely taking inspiration of, I guess, what I would have imagined the Dark Continent would have kind of been like if Hunter x Hunter got to it. And I think another thing in that world, there's a few kingdoms, there's a few places there which are quite interesting, because in the story there's hints of giants, and I'm not sure you probably remember Lester, but, like, I think I think I showed, like, a giant in the story, and I think I hinted to where they came from and everything before, and they come from, like, this side.
Yeah. Was it one of those hunters that came for the party?
Yeah. It's one of them ones that came after him. Yeah, and I think
was it Frank? Is that what you called it?
Frank, yeah. I think the group was called, was it Frankenstein? Something. I've got the name of it. But Frank. Yeah, one of them was named Frank. But their name came together to, like, something like Frankenstein something. Yeah. So yeah, in that world there's true giants, and then there's another group I probably won't speak about right here. But then also there's this king he's basically, you could say, almost arguably the most powerful king or like who has the most powerful nation in this world, in the whole of this story. Because I've definitely taken inspiration from, like, I'm not sure, I think it's a bit different in the Bible with Solomon, but in the Quran, King Solomon was like this king who was able to control the jinn, which you'll probably call ghosts or maybe demons in your you'll probably understand them as ghosts or demons.
I'm not religious, so
yeah. That's
I
what
only know about Solomon.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, so basically he was this king who was able to control he was able to code, you would probably call them demons or ghosts, and they could pull like some crazy feats. Like there was a demon, you know Ifrit, because you haven't Final Fantasy, one called Ifrit. He's able to
Ifrit's from Arabic myth.
Yeah.
If I remember my mythology.
Yeah, you're correct. Yeah. So Ifrit, he was like one of the most strongest jinn. We call him jinn, but like, you know the word jinn. So I use jinn. Yeah, he was one of the strongest jinn.
Yeah, I know the word.
Yeah.
And he was to the point where I think there was this queen that was coming over to Solomon, because I think he sent a letter. He was able to control animals. He was able to like talk to birds as well. So he could control birds too. So he sent a bird to bring, like, basically to invite the queen over to talk. And I think one of Showa's power was when he asked the jinn, who can bring her throne and bring it over here. I'm not sure how far it was, but it's like it's in another continent, wherever her kingdom was, and her throne was already down there. And they were just like saying, I could bring it in a day, I could bring it like in an hour, and Ifrit said I could bring it in a blink of an eye, and that's what he did. I think basically what I'm getting to is like this. So this king, he's able to control the demons to that level, and because the demons can move through dimensions. He has a city, Atlas, when he has the whole thing, that big boulder in his back.
Atlas.
Yeah. So there's
Atlas. No, it wasn't.
Was it Atlas?
The world. So Atlas.
The world. That was it. Yeah.
If I remember my mythology, he was punished by the Olympian pantheon to forever hold up the world.
Yeah, that was it.
The shoulders.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. I think a title for Final Fantasy 15 as well. So, but yeah, which is basically inspired by Atlas, anyways. But so there's basically this demon who's basically super huge. It's a bit like Zoe, like the big elephant in One Piece, where he's holding the world, like holding the whole city. So he has they have a golden, like, upon his back is a golden city, and that's the King's City. And it basically walks around this world, and it can actually teleport as well. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of I guess that's the most interesting bits of my world I have going on. But I think most other ones are, I guess, more practical off the top of my head. But yeah, I guess that's my take.
It's pretty interesting. Of also basing it off of King Solomon as well.
Yeah. I've always been fascinated by King Solomon, and I think, at least in my story, actually that's fine. I don't mind talking about it. So in my story, I think with him, he's meant to be like this. He's meant to be this great king, but he comes from of a generation of like how they choose a king. It's not so much by blood; it's so much by the power you have, because the element, because there's different elements of power in my story, and it's more you get chosen by the power you have, and it's a certain element of power which is super, super rare, to the point where I don't think it's almost kind of seen mythical on our side of on the side of the world that the main characters are in. And I think at least with how I've themed him, it's more like because he's meant to have all this power, but it's more like, how do I put it? Like, he's meant to have all this power, and he's meant to be like the way I imagine him, it's kind of like if you had Legend of Zelda, you had like Link, and after he defeated Ganon, he did his major quests, and then like what would happen after that? Like how would things start turning into going terrible again for them? There then need to be another cycle of the world being saved. I'm not sure if I'm explaining it too well, but I think I take it yeah, I'm not sure if I explained it too well, but I imagine him as like he's meant to stand for the most ideal good, but then the path that takes and how it shapes the world is it goes down. It's really, I think it's interesting. I'm not sure I can explain it better than that.
Yes,
But yeah,
it's cool.
yeah.
Kite, do you also have like settings or? Oh, I think he's offline.
What? I'm sorry?
Settings?
No, he's still here.
No, just asking you if you got any setting you wanna talk about.
Well, I can really only talk about the setting that I'm working on now. I'll try to keep things brief as best as I can. So, the setting that I have takes place like very in the far future, where humanity has already left Earth behind. They have found themselves on a planet that is very much sentient and is very much aware of the fact that humanity is roaming its borders now. So, in order for to kind of invite humanity onto the planet for whatever dubious reasons we can point to, the planet has created an entity to guide humanity to at least understanding how it actually works, from the various physics, at least on a capacity that a human can understand. Because the thing is, the entity that the planet created was very much in line with what a human is like. So a lot of this knowledge can only be transferred or explained in a way in which a human can understand. This means that there's some aspects of the planet that this entity was not aware of, because they cannot perceive or conceive of these notions. So because of this, humanity has a very limited understanding of how this planet really works. It is alive in the truest sense of the word. Most of the technology that is on this planet is based on this energy source that it creates alongside like gravity, air, and everything. It's something that can be pulled out of the atmosphere at any time to power and generate specific phenomenon at the time. So you could almost argue that it's an infinite source of energy. It is for the most part, but it can be depleted. It is possible for it to be depleted. So humanity lives on one side of the planet because there's another side of it that is completely uninhabitable. There's no way humanity can live over there because that side of the planet cannot sustain human life at all. That's not to say there's nothing over there. There is, but we don't know what it looks like just yet. But we do know one thing: if humanity has were ever forced out into that part of the planet, they couldn't live, at least not through natural means anyway. Something would have to serve as a bit of a mediator between them and that side of the planet to survive. So the current day is kind of a matter of, you have several different colonies that have come out as a result of people trying to stake out a living on there. So because of that, there's different cultures, and of course, despite the fact that this is in the far future, a religion has taken up roots within this world. And the reason for this just comes down to the fact that humanity knows the planet is very much alive on a wide scale, and some have taken upon it themselves to worship, or at least form a religion around the planet, so we can better understand how it works, how we can live in peace with it, and what exactly are its intentions for humanity. That's always a constant point of contention within the story, as one of the main characters is actually another creation of the planet itself. So now we have the $1,000,000 question of why exactly is there another child of the planet, quote unquote. And the scary thing is that she's not even the only one. There is another one that is currently what some would call a benevolent dictator at this point. So now we have two different wills that are in open contrast to each other. So now the question is, what happens in the future? Like, are we doomed to face another wide-scale conflict due to another fundamental misunderstanding of how we ought to live and how we ought to come together? Or can we avoid that conflict and find some way to live on this planet in peace? So it's a matter of, we have left behind one world, but now we've come to another, but we seem to be carrying around the same baggage. And Whether or not the planet is aware of that, or is intentionally stoking the flames, or is trying to ensure that there's some degree of understanding, we don't have much of a concept of it. Not even the children that it's created are capable of understanding it in full, because again, at the end of the day, they're still very much in human bodies. So the ability to really perceive all of that is going to require something of like a godlike level of insight. But they're not capable of doing that because, again, they're still human. The planet intended for them to be this way. So it's almost like there's a lot of broken pieces here, and they need to be lined up. I'd like to think that's one of the main themes of my story. Like, everyone is a broken piece somewhere, and everyone needs to find a person or a place where they can line all of them up. Yeah. So the last thing I want to mention, because I do want to keep this brief, I don't really like talking about my stuff very much in this capacity. But the last thing I'll mention is, of course, it is very much a war drama inspired by Mobile Suit Gundam, or very much steeped in the new type in the new type myth or the new type theory, and very much in line of me trying to come to terms with various aspects of history, like Nazi Germany, United States, the current conflict within Israel and Palestine. Like, a lot of what I see and a lot of me coming to terms with a lot of that stuff is really very much a vehicle that the story rides on. So this means that there's, of course, giant robots, all of that, and like a lot of mysticism. Some you might find some pieces of Avatar: The Last Airbender in there if you know where to look. But yeah, that's basically where I'll keep it. I'll keep it short for now. I'll just let you chew on that for now.
Yeah.
No, yeah. Actually, you might have mentioned it already, but like when you mentioned like the planet being alive, that always kind of made me think of Final Fantasy VII. But
that's another one.
Yeah.
That's another one, and of course there's aspects of Dune, but again,
we talk about it.
Yeah, I try to keep it brief because there's so much to talk about.
yeah. Trust me. Yeah, I mean, even when I started off, I barely two towns I find it's interesting to talk about. But when I start talking about, okay, I'm talking for ages.
And
it's a bit.
It's a bit of a long topic, and I didn't really want to superimpose that, and I am playing Ender Lilies while we're chatting too, and but I almost threw my controller earlier, but that's another conversation.
No, you're doing better than me. I don't know. I can't playing something whilst talking about something long like this. Yeah, I couldn't. I don't know. Can't see myself doing it. But yeah. All right, guys. It's been.
I'll close it here as well.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's been episode 18 of the Lounge Podcast. Thank you for joining us. And see you guys next time. Take care. Bye.